How do narcissists sabotage their own lives? Well, I'm going to be going over 8 ways that narcissists actually do sabotage themselves. They do. And I'm going to be going over that in today's video. So stay tuned. I'm going to be talking about 8 ways that narcissists sabotage their own lives. Yes, they actually do, believe it or not. So, what's the first way that narcissists actually sabotage their own lives? How do they do this? You think that they don't, but they do. Well, the first way that they do this is through being just generally rude to people. I mean, eventually they do sabotage themselves because they're just rude to people. And yes, they start off with this whole love bombing thing. And for those of you who aren't aware of how a narcissist functions in the world, it is actually pretty crazy to me because I didn't really realize that they have these patterns. I mean, yeah, they're horrible and heinous to deal with, but they really do have a pattern in how they show up and function in the world. Whether it's in a business relationship, your neighbor, or whoever it is, the way that they interact with the world is actually the same. So they start off with this, what they call the idealistic phase or the love bombing phase, which is they come on super strong. They seem perfect. They're very chameleon like. They know how to actually almost take on the traits of whoever it is that they're targeting so that they seem perfect for that person. But they move very quickly into the relationship because they really want to move right to the next phase of the relationship. It's kind of an exhausting phase for them. It's not the phase that they really want to be in. It's kind of they're making deposits because they want to take out withdrawals. You've heard the phrase butter somebody up. I mean, they really are kind of buttering them up. You know how somebody butters up a turkey because they want to eat it. I mean, they're not buttering up a turkey just because they want to put butter on it. They want to eat the turkey, right? So that's kind of what it is in a kind of disgusting way, but it is sort of what it is. They've love bombed the person. Now they're devaluing the person, and then they go into love bomb, devaluing, and then the discard phase. But whether it's them discarding or the other person discarding, it's kind of like those 3 phases of the relationship. And by the way, they're not linear necessarily. They can go back and forth depending on what's convenient for them. And it's that way, whether it's a covert narcissist or an overt narcissist. And by the way, I have videos on YouTube on the different types of narcissists and also on the phases of these narcissistic relationships. It's kind of crazy how I didn't even realize that there were these different phases of the relationship, that there were these different types of narcissists or any of that sort of thing. I can tell you this, that when I discovered that there was a covert narcissist, the one that I was dealing with in particular was female. At the time, thought narcissists were male. I thought that narcissists were boastful, bragging, kind of misogynistic, sort of loud. I mean, I had this picture in my mind of what a narcissist was. And so I remember when somebody pointed out to me that this person that I was dealing with was a covert narcissist. I remember thinking, I don't think she's a narcissist. I think she's just really insecure. But of course, narcissists are very insecure, right? Going back to number 1, that they're very rude to people. They have to eventually show their true colors because it's difficult for them to maintain this certain level of niceness, for lack of a better word. It's difficult for them to say, I have to stay in this facade all the time. So they do eventually sort of sabotage themselves because they can't hold that. And I am going to get through 8 of these, and I'm saving the best one for the end because I have seen this in negotiations where they completely torpedo themselves. Totally, to the point where it's almost laughable if it weren't people's lives. You know what I mean? Okay. So that's number one. Number two is they're just completely not self-aware. They end up doing this self-sabotage because they're not self-aware about how they interrupt people, how they can be abrupt to people, how they come off to people. A lot of people don't end up liking them very much, to be honest with you, because they're not self-aware. The people who aren't necessarily their targets, the ones that they're working on grooming and conditioning, where they're working really hard to make sure that they're under their spell and their control, they may not realize how they're being perceived by those people. So they may end up kind of self-sabotaging with those people. The other way is that they self-sabotage because they do have low self-esteem. So they may end up sort of not forming the best relationships, or doing and saying and being and acting in the world in certain ways that cause people to not necessarily want to be around them. So that's number two. Number three is that they put their own needs first. So because they put their own needs first, who wants to be around that a lot of times? Who wants to be around somebody who is constantly putting their own needs first, where they're talking about themselves all the time? I've been around people like that, where you're at lunch with them, you're at dinner with them, all they do is talk about themselves. It's a very one-sided type of relationship. I've had clients like that. It's a very, very one-sided relationship. So if all they're doing is putting their own needs first, then they will end up sabotaging their lives in that way as well. So that's number three. The number four way that narcissists end up sabotaging their own lives is that they are just incapable of forming real relationships. They don't have authentic relationships with people. They don't let people in. They don't really let people see who they are. And that's really sad. So they're incapable of forming true connections with people. How can they? So they do end up sabotaging their own lives, even with their own children, most of the time. A really good example of this I had seen in the mini series with Hugh Grant. I did a video on this called The Undoing of the Narcissist. The series was The Undoing. And by the way, I'm going to just do a little bit of a spoiler here, but he played this upstanding guy who was a physician, and he had committed a heinous act, I'll just say. For those of you who maybe want to go back and see it, I don't even know if it's still on. It was last year, but he had committed this heinous act, and then he was trying to get out of it. He was trying to put the responsibility on others, let's just say. And the closer and closer that it got to him, at the very end, he tried to pin it on his own child. And at that point, that's when his wife knew that it definitely had to be him, because who would do that? I mean, as far as being incapable of forming real relationships, my God, who would do that? Okay, so that's number four. Number five is that the relationships are just transactional. I mean, that's just another way that they are sabotaging their own lives, because it's like, I'll only do something for you if you do something for me. What's in it for me? They will never do something for someone unless there's something coming back in return. How sad is that? The relationships have to be transactional. And boy, do I know people like that. I'll only scratch your back if you scratching mine. Only if there's something in it for them. And that is so narcissistic. I mean, it's such a very big, glaring characteristic of a narcissist, that's for sure. So that's number 5. Number 6 is how they act outrageously sometimes. And then people will definitely see it. And that is a huge red flag of a narcissist. Boy, have I seen this. They just treat people horribly at a restaurant. They make a huge scene, treat this wait staff terribly, super rude to people. And then people eventually will see how they are, where they're just outrageous. I've seen this where moms have acted awful at events where I've been there with my daughter and they make a huge scene at a theater. So when people just act outrageously sometimes and people eventually see it, then you start to know. And by the way, this is not your problem. I mean, don't take this on. If you are in a relationship with a narcissist and you start to feel like the narcissist in your life is sabotaging their lives, don't clean up their messes for them. Don't do it. I want you to write in the comments right now, not my problem. Not my problem. This is what we do as empaths. We start to take this on like we need to fix this for them. Write in the comments right now, not my problem. You do not need to fix this for them. Okay. Next, they go too far. They go too far. I mean, this is beyond even acting outrageously. They go too far with other things too. They go too far with how they behave even within a relationship. It doesn't even have to be public. They push somebody's buttons within a relationship where the person within the relationship just finally says, I'm done. No, thank you. You finally snap. You finally go, you know what? I don't think I want to do this anymore. I think that's it. I think that's enough. I think we're done here. So that's number 7. And number 8. I wanted to save number 8 because this is the one that I see in negotiations. This is where they are really their worst enemies. And that is where they just start manipulating people just for the sake of it to their own detriment. Where in the case itself, it becomes harassment. It becomes vexatious litigation. It becomes scorched earth litigation. And that's when the judge starts to see it. That's when the world starts to see it. And that's when fees start to get assessed. And that's when sanctions start coming in. And that's when you start to have some serious leverage. And you start to realize, wait a minute here. What is going on? They even start to fire their own lawyer. They start making serious mistakes. They start thinking, oh, I can win this no matter what. They actually start having these crazy notions like, I don't have to do anything I don't want to in this case. I don't have to settle if I don't want to. I'm going to court no matter what. They make ridiculous demands. I've had people say to me, I'd rather pay you than her, ridiculous things. They really become their own worst enemy because they're just blinded by, I just want to make the other person suffer. And that is when they really are sabotaging their own lives. And by the way, you think, oh my God, nobody's ever going to see it. Let me tell you, the world does eventually see that. Judges do see that, mediators see that, lawyers do see that. You do have to trust that the system sees it, the world will see it, and that justice and equity and fairness will prevail. But let me just tell you something that I tell people all the time, and that is that if you don't believe that you can win, nobody can help you. You have to believe that you can win first, okay? And you have the best evidence in your hands. lawyers know the law, judges have to apply the law. You have the best evidence in your hands, so you have to organize it. All right, I'm going to go through 6 ways that covert narcissists actually sabotage their own lives in this video. So you're going to want to watch all the way till the end. It's pretty incredible because I know you think that they're pretty stellar at sabotaging your life, because they do. It's kind of like death by a thousand cuts. Like, nobody else sees it. And even you kind of don't see it all at once. It's like that frog that's sitting in the pot and you don't realize you're being boiled until you've already been boiled. Have you ever heard that metaphor before? Okay, let me just kind of go through it. So, if for those of you who haven't heard it before, basically, you're in this pot of water. It's the frog that's in this pot of water, and the water is cold. And what happens is the frog doesn't realize as the water is getting warmer and warmer and warmer, and they don't get out. So they just allow themselves to be boiled. And that's what happens with those of us who are dealing with covert narcissists, because it's such a slow thing that you don't really realize what's happening until it's already been done. 6 ways that covert narcissists sabotage their own lives. They actually do sabotage their own lives. I'm going to go through that with you right here. Number 1 is that they can't control their own emotions. A lot of times they do in front of other people, but there are times that they literally snap, or they say things that are wrong, or they do things that are wrong in front of the wrong people or in front of you. And then things just go wrong for them and they end up sabotaging their own lives. And they end up actually regretting what they've done, or they sabotage relationships, or they sabotage situations for themselves. They sabotage business situations for themselves because they can't control their emotions. I actually saw an interview one time with a guy who was a neurosurgeon, like a neurologist, and he was talking about how people's brains can be rewired. And we actually are just kind of a CPU up here with our brains. We think that we are who we are. And there's actually kind of this separation between who we are as a soul and who we are as this programmed thing up on top of our neck up here. Because the thing up on top of our neck can actually be rewired. It's kind of scary, but it is true. It's just a set of neurons that are just firing and wiring together that's been programmed over time because of a set of stimuli has been presented to us, and we drew conclusions. But there's this cerebral cortex that's like the reasonable part. And then there's this limbic brain that's kind of the older part of our brain, the older part of our development as humans, that is ruling our emotional part of us. And if we can't get a hold of that, and what this neurosurgeon was saying is that the most important skill that we can possess as humans is this ability to be able to control our emotions. That is the most important skill that we can have as humans, because if you can't get a hold of your emotions, then, it wreaks havoc in your lives. And that's what happens with narcissists. They very often can't get a hold of their emotions because their limbic system, their limbic brain wasn't fully developed because of the trauma that was caused to them as children. So they can't control their emotions. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that they underestimate their supply by assuming that they're weak. What happens with narcissists in general is they mistake the fact that you are a good person, that you're an empathic person, that you're a generous person, that you're a kind person for weakness. They collapse those things together. They actually think that because you're all of those things, that, you're a kind person, you're a good person, that means that you're a weak person. And obviously, that that's not true. You can be a kind person and still be a strong person, that you can be a generous person and still be a strong person, that you can be a wonderful human being and still be a strong person. I mean, look at Mother Teresa, for example. She's in there, pillar of kindness in Calcutta, taking care of lepers and the things that she was doing on a daily basis. She was 2 feet tall or whatever she was. And, you know, clearly she was a strong, strong, strong person. I don't think anybody would have said that she was weak. They underestimate their supply by assuming that they're weak. So that's number 2. Number 3 is kind of the opposite. They overestimate themselves. And boy, do I see this a lot in negotiations. They really overestimate themselves. They really believe, and this is, kind of goes hand in hand with underestimating you, by the way. They really overestimate themselves and their lies. This is where your leverage is definitely going to come in, because they lie all the time, all over the place. And they don't assume that you are going to ever stand up to them, that you're going to go behind them and find their copies of their lies, or figure it out, or actually document it, or actually put it together, or actually create summaries of it or exhibits of it, or stand up to them, or create a strategy or leverage, or present it to them in a way that's organized, or in a way that actually, the way I teach you how to do it in my SLAY methodology, which is strategy, leverage, anticipate, and focus on you. I actually teach you how to present in an organized negotiation fashion so that you can actually be the stronger one. But they underestimate you, they overestimate themselves. They don't anticipate that their lies are ever going to catch up with them. Unfortunate for them, wonderful for you. Let yourself be underestimated, by the way. You can't have an ego in this. Allow their ego to be their downfall. As long as you give them rope, they will hang themselves with it. They will. Give them rope to hang themselves. Give them rope to hang themselves. It's a good thing. Number 4, they actually believe that you will continue to take their abuse because you always have. They just think that you'll stick around, and they are genuinely shocked when you don't. Even if you say, I'm not going to put up with this anymore, or even if they say, I don't think you will, when you actually stop doing that, when you actually put your foot down, when you actually start pivoting, when you actually start shifting that dynamic and actually start standing up to them, they are seriously like, whoa, and they will start to have a meltdown initially, and they will start to have a tantrum initially, but you can't be swayed by that. You can't worry about that. That's terrorist tactics. It's okay. You will survive. It's like a 2-year-old having a tantrum on the floor. You got to allow the 2-year-old to have the tantrum. It will get worse before it gets better, but that's okay, because eventually it does get better. So that's number 4. Number 5 is they hold grudges. They hold big time grudges. They don't forgive. It makes for them to have lonely lives, and it holds them away from people, and it sabotages their relationships with people, and it doesn't allow for them to have good connections with people. It keeps them away from people who might actually have truly loved them, which is very, very sad. Narcissists inherently don't believe that they're truly lovable, and so they don't feel good about themselves inside. They end up being able to have good relationships with people anyway, any narcissists at all. That's why you can't go down with the sinking ship. You got to move on. And that's why I want you to put in the comments right now, I'm moving on. Put that in the comments right now. I'm moving on because it's time for you to move on. That is number 5. And I said I was going to give you 6 ways that covert narcissists sabotage their own lives. And I've given you 5 so far. 5 ways that covert narcissists sabotage their own lives, which means there's one more left. That is that they have to be the victim. They have to be the victim, regardless of whether or not it costs them a relationship. I've seen them allow it to cost them family relationships. Then it makes them look like a victim, because they'd rather be a victim than actually even have a real relationship, which is super sad. They'd rather have people feel sorry for them, have people go, oh, that's terrible, I can't believe this, I can't believe that this would happen to you, than actually have a real relationship with members of their own family, because they'd rather have the attention from other outside sources feeling sorry for them. That's how sad and pathetic they can be, because they need to be the victim. And that really sabotages their own lives. That's how empty they feel. Instead of actually having a genuine, loving, whole, complete relationship that's filled with joy and light and peace and really experiencing the wholeness of what life has to offer. They're down in this low level vibration of sadness and guilt and bad feelings. It's just horrible. They do everything they can to get sympathy from other people and making poor choices and talking bad about others. And, their lives are just always this woe is me. And I mean, that's total self sabotage. Who wants to live in that space? Not me. That's the worst way that covert narcissists can sabotage their own lives. That's a space you don't want to live in. You do not want to live in. You want to live in a place where you are living in feeling fulfilled. Life is so short. It will be over before you know it. I mean, when you think about how little life you actually have, I heard a statistic one time that if you subtract out the time you're sleeping and the time you're eating and the time you're driving and the time you're actually doing all the things you have to do, it's like, how much time do you actually have left on this planet? I think for me, I have left, like, I don't know, 8 years or something. It's not very much. And I sure as heck don't want to spend it feeling anything but vibrance and lightness and joy, and waking up in the morning feeling excited about life and happiness and peace and fulfillment. And that's what I want for you too. And today we are going to be exploring the intriguing world of how narcissists actually unknowingly sabotage their own lives. Surprising ways that they do that. It's really, really surprising and shocking to me how they do that, because you think that they are on top of the world. And many times they try to make you think that too. And sometimes it seems like they are, but there are some shocking ways that they sabotage their own lives. Understand that at the core is, number one, the lack of empathy and emotional disconnect that they have. And so that's number one, is where they start off with sabotaging their own lives, because understand it's difficult for them to step into someone else's shoes and truly understand the emotions of the people around them. They want to, they try, they even try to mirror it. They try to like pretend, they try to like look to see how other people are acting and do that, but the truth of the matter is they just don't have it. They have this emotional disconnect, and it can have profound consequences on their personal relationships and even their professional lives. So understand that empathy is the ability to recognize and understand the feelings and perspective of other people. And when someone lacks empathy, they struggle to connect and have emotional experiences with people that they interact with. And it leads to misunderstandings and strained relationships. So that's number one. Number two is manipulative behavior, which causes broken relationships. Narcissists constantly manipulate. That's like their way of being. They don't realize that they can act like a normal person. They just constantly manipulate people, and they use their charm and charisma to serve their own interests. That manipulative tendency heavily impacts their interactions with others, and it leads to broken relationships on both personal and professional fronts. They use deception, they use guilt to influence other people to get what they want and to gain attention and admiration over situations and the needs of others. So, for example, let's take somebody named Lisa. Let's say she's super charming and very captivating in one sense, but then she uses manipulation to deceive her romantic partner. And her manipulation tactics cause immense emotional harm. And when the truth eventually surfaces, it leaves this trail of broken trust and heartache. That's number two. Are you ready to transform lives at the deepest level while also earning money and taking your career to the highest heights? Well, if so, then my brand new Slay Master High Conflict Negotiation Certification training is exactly what you have been looking for. Get ready to acquire the essential skills necessary to guide your already existing clients or team members through the intricacies of dealing with challenging personalities. Or you can become a brand new certified coach and ignite an amazing new career and start off by knowing that you can make a real difference in people's lives. Hi, I'm Rebecca Zung, and I'm an attorney, and I've been named a best lawyer in America by US News, and I'm also a globally recognized narcissist negotiation expert. I'm also the author of a best-selling book, Slay the Bully, How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win, and I'm the founder of the Slay method of negotiating with high conflict personalities. I am a certified coach also, and as a certified master coach in the Slay method, you will be able to guide your clients or your team members through the complexity of dealing with high conflict or narcissistic personalities, including using the power of my proven Slay method. I've literally helped thousands of people across the globe with this method, and it has saved lives in negotiating people from lives of drama, trauma, and chaos to step into lives of freedom, possibility, and purpose. And you will be able to help them do the exact same thing into finding lives of freedom and ultimately respect, acknowledgement, and that feeling of knowing that you have helped people at their deepest level of their soul, and you will be able to be paid for that. And it's not just about helping others, by the way, it's about investing in yourself and your own future. By joining this training, you will be investing in your own professional growth, enhancing your own quality of life, and unlocking limitless earning potential. Are you ready to take charge of your destiny and help shape the destinies of others while making more money doing it? Then join my free workshop, High conflict negotiation certification boosts your authority and your income. Discover why high conflict coaches are in huge demand right now, both personally and professionally. Learn how to coach people through crises, master emotional triggers, and conquer their fears, all while boosting your authority and your income. Don't miss out on this exclusive, life-changing opportunity. Just click the link to sign up for this free workshop right now. The number 3 is constant need for validation and constant need for attention. And then this ends up leading to sabotaging their own life. This is any kind of narcissist, whether it's covert or grandiose. They take it to extreme levels, constantly needing that approval, constantly sabotaging their own relationships. Of course, we all want to feel seen, heard, and know that we matter. That's normal. But it becomes overwhelming for a narcissist. Their self-worth depends on this, and it's exhausting. I mean, if you guys have felt this, give me an amen in the comments. Like, it's so exhausting, right? I mean, you just feel so totally and utterly depleted. I know I've been there. That's for sure. And if you guys are dealing with this and you are trying to negotiate with a narcissist in any way, make sure you grab my free ebook at winmynegotiation.com. It's a free 15-page ebook, which has helped so many people win their negotiations. You can get that at winmynegotiation.com. But, an example of constant need for validation and attention would be somebody named Mark, whose life revolved around needing excessive admiration from his friends and his family and colleagues. And his actions were motivated by desperate desire to be the center of attention. But Mark's relentless pursuit of validation left him feeling neglected. He never was able to form genuine connections because everything was built on shallow foundations. It's just like this empty sieve inside. It's like hollow, constant, constant, constant. Who wants to fill that all the time? Nobody does. It's just exhausting. If you need additional support, I have a free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung, and you are very, very welcome to join that. It's on Facebook, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. And if you don't have access to therapy, we have a sponsor on this channel for online therapy. There's BetterHelp, and you can get access that at betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung. It is a sponsor for us, so we receive commissions. It doesn't cost you any extra. We just want you to have access to help and support that you can trust. Next is number 4, which is their inability to handle criticism and failure. They're so oversensitive, so easily slighted. Criticism and failure are regular aspects of life that we all encounter at some point, but narcissists often react so negatively with feedback and so defensive and so hostile. Sometimes, they think you're criticizing them and you're not even criticizing them. They react so negatively, it robs them of valuable opportunities for personal growth. Honestly, they might quit jobs, they might get out of relationships so quickly. For example, James would be like a talented individual who, instead of being able to take constructive criticism from his boss, he perceived it as a personal attack, and it hindered his career. It left him stagnant. He was unable to advance in his career. Who wants to be around somebody like that? Nobody does. A lot of times, these are the people that are criticizing everybody else. They dish it out but can't take it kind of people. The last one is shocking ways that narcissists sabotage their own lives is short-term gratification and impulsive decision making. So narcissists are often extremely drawn to instant gratification and impulsive decision making. They're extremely impulsive. They want that like temporary fix. They go for the short-term thing. They're extremely quick fix thing. They don't look at the long-term consequences of their decisions. And you know what? A lot of times, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, you end up dealing with the cleanup in aisle 6. You're the one that ends up having to go clean up their freaking mess when they can't handle what happens after the fallout of their impulsive decision making. I know that I've been in that situation before myself. They want that immediate reward, they want that immediate pleasure. They don't think about the potential consequences of their actions. So, for example, look at Chris, who was indulged in impulsive spending to boost his ego. Immediate gratification led him to buying luxury items and showing off his possessions, but left him in debt. Another person would be somebody like Emma, who sought immediate gratification in pursuit of her admiration and made rash decisions without considering long-term effects on her education and her career, and struggled to find genuine success and fulfillment. Those are the 5 shocking ways that narcissists sabotage their own lives. I can tell you that for me, I have seen it in negotiations. They take themselves down to take you down. And in this video, I'm going to give you 7 crazy ways that narcissists actually sabotage their own negotiations. So check it out. And I'm going to save the best one for last because it is so crazy. So, and I've seen it all. I've been an attorney for more than 20 years. And I have seen narcissists do the craziest things. Let me tell you, crazy. So I'm going to share it all in this video. So number one is I have seen narcissists actually destroy their own businesses to destroy the other side. Let me give you an example. What they will do is they will try to get at, let's say it's a divorce situation, or maybe it's a business partnership. What they're trying to do is actually get to the other side. And so in the process of trying to take down the other side, they think that they're just going after the other side, and it's not just working. It's just really not happening the way they think it's going to. So what they do initially is they start to maybe try to get employees to be on their side, and they might start talking to secretaries, or they might start talking to, key employees, or they might start getting key employees to be, go with them. Maybe they start to think, oh, I'm going to leave this company and I'll go start my own, or something like that. And then, what they might do is, I've actually seen where they actually get into fist fights with employees, and then employees might actually start to leave the business on purpose, where the employees just start to go, I don't even want to be part of this company anymore. I am out of here. Or they start to have, inappropriate conversations with clients, where the clients start figuring out what's going on. The clients just start to go, I don't really want to be involved with what's happening here anymore, because it's just, there's too much chaos going on here. So, that's sort of an inadvertent situation. But sometimes they might just say, I'm not going to work anymore, because if I can't have it the way I want it, I'm not going to try to generate business anymore. So I'm not going to do any work. And then the clients start getting mad. They start not showing up at jobs the way they're supposed to, so this is, obviously when there's a business that they own, or they're a part owner in, or maybe that there's other partners in the business, and the other partners in the business start to find out what's going on, and the other partners find out that they're liars, or that they're not doing what they're supposed to, or something like that. All of these things all end up where they're basically completely self-sabotaging, because at the end of the day, now they don't have the business anymore. It was a business that was actually very lucrative at one point, or maybe made a lot of money. It was either very valuable and made a lot of money, and now they themselves are destroying their own source of income or their own source of, a valuable asset. It's actually mind-blowing to me, but I've seen it happen over and over and over again. 7 crazy ways that narcissists sabotage their own negotiations, because now in that negotiation, they are sabotaging an asset that is no longer going to be as valuable. The mediator sees this, the other side sees this, the judge sees this. Everybody is seeing what this narcissist is doing. It's crazy. That's number one. Number two is kind of related, but not completely related. And that is that they let their emotions take over. They let their emotions take over, and they end up doing something stupid. And this could be, in the business, but it could be in other ways too. It could be in the negotiations themselves. It could be right in the room, in the mediator's room. It could be with the kids. I've seen where they take the kids and leave the country. Or I saw my own client one time decide to sign an alimony check with crayon with his left hand when he was right-handed. And then, obviously that ended up to be something that came back to bite him, because everybody knew how ridiculous that was, and then that sabotaged him in the negotiations, because that was going to be something that was definitely going to be used against him in court. So I had another client who found a cell phone where the wife had, there was very obvious text messages and emails on there that were evidence of cheating. And he ended up giving away the leverage. He, drank and dialed, and he ended up giving away the leverage in the middle of the night to her. So ways that narcissists end up sabotaging their own negotiations. He couldn't help himself by, he had to call her and tell her that he had found those text messages, because he had to tell her, so he let his emotions take over, and he ended up doing something stupid. Don't let emotions take over ever. That's number two. Number three is that they lie all the time. They lie so much that they forget what they lied about, and they can't keep track of their lies, which ends up being great leverage for you, by the way. So in my SLAY methodology, strategy, leverage, anticipate, and focus on you, which in my SLAY program, I teach you exactly how to organize all of this and create that leverage that you need for your negotiations. So that is exactly how you do it, is you take those lies and you create amazing leverage out of it. Because number three is that they lie and they don't even remember what they lied about. Okay, so that totally ends up sabotaging themselves. They lie about things they don't need to lie about, and they lie about things that are completely verifiable. It's ridiculous. So that's number three. Number four is that they transfer money to bank accounts, where that's verifiable as well. You can see it on the bank statements. They transfer money to offshore bank accounts. They hide money. They withhold money. It's another whole thing they do. Everything with money that's just ridiculous, that's just stupid. And all that's verifiable because it shows up on the statements. And that ends up being a complete sabotage against them in negotiations, because that ends up being leverage against them as well. So they end up moving money around, taking money, withholding money, not paying things on time or whatever. So that's number 4. Number 5 is if you are in litigation with them during the negotiations, is that they end up ignoring court orders and over litigating. Again, this is something that is so great for you because you can use this against them as leverage in negotiations. Because remember, narcissists don't want to be exposed. That is your best form of leverage. Remember, you're looking at different forms of supply, and that's how you potentially build your leverage. Is what is their biggest Achilles heel, right? Their biggest Achilles heel is how they look to the world. That's their supply, and they don't want to be exposed. So if you look at how can you potentially expose them, it's who do they not want to be exposed to? One of the people that they definitely don't want to be exposed to if you're litigating is the judge. And if they've been ignoring court orders and they've been over litigating, you can bring that to the judge's attention and say, Your Honor, this person has been ignoring your court orders or over litigating this case. And one of the things a judge hates more than anything, their sins against the court, right? Make sure you let them know. Hey, they've been ignoring court orders. Definitely let them know that. All right, so that's number 5. And it's all part of the whole karma. Karma never forgets. She never forgets. What goes around comes around. I promise you that. Karma is great. I want you to put that in the comments right now to remind yourself. Karma is great. Number 6. Number 6 is they cheat. And that is another great thing that they do, which sabotages themselves in negotiations. They cheat in many different ways. They cheat on their business partners. They cheat on their taxes. They cheat on their spouses. They cheat in they cheat everybody. You can use that as leverage in negotiations. And by the way, if you are negotiating with anybody, make sure you grab my free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet at crushmydeal.com. Go to crushmydeal.com and grab my free ebook. It's a free 15-page ebook, which will help you get started with your negotiations. I've had many people win their entire negotiations just on that alone, and it's totally free. So make sure you grab that. Okay. Number 7 is the best one that they do, that they completely sabotage themselves with, which is they do crazy things in public, post on social media, do things in front of witnesses, and then you have it. You have it for all the world to see. All the world's a stage. You can grab it for leverage forever because they do. They post it. They do it in front of your friends. They do it in front of your family. And everyone saw. And they all do these crazy things. All of them. I do want to say before we dive in that you want to make sure that you never put yourself in any sort of danger. So if you are feeling like you are in any sort of danger, please don't put yourself there. The point of this video is to hurt them in a way that is going to push them out of your life so that you can break free, so that you can walk away, so that you can erase them from your memory, so that you can erase them from your life. The real pain for them is to be erased. That's kind of the end game here. So how do you get there? How do you move toward that place, right? Because you're the one who constantly feels like this ain't fair. How's this happening. Everyone's believing their lies. They constantly get away with everything. Believe me, I know. I hear it all the time. I hear the pain. I hear the constant feeling of you're on the defense and you want to know, how do I get on the offense? By the way, if you haven't subscribed here, I invite you to do that now. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. And if you want phrases for disarming narcissists, go ahead and grab my free phrases for disarming narcissists at disarmthenarc.com. They will help you in any situation as well. And I'm Rebecca Zung. I've written a best-selling book, USA Today #1 best-selling book, Slay the Bully: How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win. And I invite you to grab that too. How do you hurt a narcissist forever? Well, the first step for doing that is to create these super strong boundaries. Narcissists will push your boundaries. They're going to push your buttons. They're going to do everything they can to push your buttons. They get supply from that. What is supply? Supply is anything that feeds this deep, dark hole that's inside of them. They feel like they have no inherent value. So they have to get all of their value from external sources. I always say they're like that chocolate Easter bunny that looks really nice on the outside, but on the inside, there's nothing going on. It's totally hollow inside. At least that's how they feel. They look beautiful when they first come around, but as soon as you see what's going on inside, there's nothing there. They don't feel anything. There's no heart there. In fact, they take cues from other people on how they're supposed to look as far as what it looks like to care. It's like they don't actually feel the care. They just know what it looks like to pretend to care. That's not caring. They thrive on this manipulation. They thrive on control. But they also thrive on image. What do they look like to the world? So I always say there's two forms of supply: diamond level supply, which is their image, how they look to the world, and then what I call coal level supply, which is manipulation and control. Now, it's really important that you understand those two different tiers of supply, because one is going to definitely be more important than the other. And you can hurt them on the diamond level supply more than you can hurt them on the coal level supply. Although they love both, they definitely love both and they want to keep both. But that manipulation, that control, that pick, that I want to get you, I want to manipulate you, that is less important than their image. Their image is going to be their all important thing. So, what do I mean by that? Well, setting firm boundaries, that's going to be the very first thing that you can do to protect yourself. So, you're going to want to do that first and foremost, to just start the process of you healing and stopping the conditioning and shutting off that first form of supply for them, and also for you to stop that conditioning process and you to stop this pushing against you. It's you starting to say, I'm not going to be manipulated. It's you starting to say, I'm demanding respect for myself. And it's you just starting one little baby step. So just putting that invisible boundary down around you and saying, I'm demanding that I get to be spoken to with respect. No matter who you are, no matter what situation you're in, I don't care if it's your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your boss, your colleague, no matter who it is, you get to be treated with respect. Start just imagining that they're a toddler having a tantrum on the floor. And just when they get upset, when they get angry, just say, I can see that you're upset. I can see that you're angry. We can resume this conversation when you've calmed down, when you can be rational, whatever words feel comfortable to you. But you can say, this approach is not working for me. This conversation doesn't work for me. You can just walk away at that point. And if they don't like it, that's okay. But you don't need to remain in conversation where you're being degraded, where you're being harassed, where somebody is putting you down. No, you don't. Absolutely never. And if somebody puts you down, or if somebody says something to you that is hurtful or whatever, you don't need to say anything back. You don't need to say anything. You can just say, thank you for the feedback. But never justify, argue, defend, or explain. I always say never jade. I always say I love jade. I'm half Chinese, so I always wear jade, but never jade. Why? Because you're never going to get a narcissist to go, oh, you know what? I thought about what you said, and huh, I'm really feeling enlightened now. I've really come to believe that you're right. That's never happening. Ever. It's never happened in the history of the world of narcissists. If you ever do get them ever to say anything like that, it's because they're manipulating you. Don't bother. Just don't justify, argue, defend, or explain. First thing, set firm boundaries. The second thing you want to do is then focus on yourself. Focus on your personal growth, focus on your success, focus on who you want to be for yourself, not looking to them to validate you, not looking to them to support you, not looking to them to give you anything that you are going to need for yourself, because you're not going to get it from them. It's not happening from that section of your world. They want attention for themselves. They want validation from you flowing in that direction. So if you want to start shifting it this direction, it's not happening for you. You need to pursue your passions and focusing on whatever it is that makes you happy, whether it's your career, your hobbies, your children, your family, your friends, whatever it is that is your thing. Do you nurture meaningful relationships that matter to you? Prioritize your own happiness, prioritize your own joy. That will be ultimately the thing that will serve you, and it will be a potent form of self protection down the road. It will definitely hurt that narcissist because they'll see that you're moving on, that you don't need them anymore, that you don't care so much about what they think or they matter so much. And it will hurt them. Focus on you. In the comments, I want you to write, I'm focusing on me. Put that in the comments below. I'm focusing on me. And if you need extra support, join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. It's a great place for support. Lots of great people in there supporting each other. And I want to know, what boundary setting techniques are you going to employ? Which ones have you found to be effective too? I want to know that in the comments as well. So just drop a comment below and let us know. We are a community here and we're helping each other out. So drop a comment below and let us know. Tell us your story and share your insights. Share your insights with the rest of us so that we can learn from each other's experiences here. So another strategy in all of this is prioritizing your emotional well-being. So getting support from others. What does that mean? It might mean therapy. It might mean joining a support group. It might mean going to get help from a pastor or your synagogue or wherever it is that you go. What does a narcissist not want you to do? Have anybody other than them. They definitely want to isolate you and not want to see you go to people outside of their world. But when you're dealing with a narcissist, it's extremely emotionally draining and traumatizing. It's so toxic. So you really do need to incorporate these sorts of things into your routine and then start thinking about healing. What are you going to do to heal yourself? Is it going to be breathing techniques, exercise, yoga, all part of your therapy, right? Mindfulness, all of this is healing from that toxicity. The more they see that you are taking care of yourself, self-care, pursuing your passions, moving on, creating boundaries, it will definitely hurt a narcissist forever. And the last thing is creating a strategy that includes leverage. That's all part of my SLAY strategy that will expose a narcissist and expose their true nature, that diamond level supply, to others. They have a very carefully crafted facade to maintain that image and shedding light on their manipulative behavior or bad things that they've done or their lies or their porn addiction or they've committed domestic violence or that they're a cheater or whatever it is can be incredibly damaging to them. And hey, if they didn't want you to tell it, then they shouldn't have done it. Seeking support, exposing their true colors, getting what you want done. Those are the things that you can do to hurt a narcissist forever. Powerful strategies. Okay, so let's talk about the 8 reasons why narcissists sabotage those holidays. Well, number one, as we know, they love to make everything about themselves. Yeah, well, that's the narcissist MO, right? I mean, they feel very empty inside. I know it seems like they want everybody to think that they feel great about themselves, but the truth of the matter is they feel very empty inside. So they want to make everything about themselves, and holidays are not about themselves, right? So they definitely want to sabotage anything that's not about themselves. Number two is that it's a great opportunity to manipulate people because there are a lot of plans being made, and that means lots of opportunities that they can, work their little magic, their little opportunities to manipulate, opportunities to sabotage, put themselves in the middle, cause problems. Really, really great for the coverts out there. My husband and I have a covert narcissist in our family, unfortunately, and this person loves to do that kind of thing. I mean, it's really, really sad because unfortunately, I think that they would really like to actually have a good relationship, but they just don't know. It's like haters are going to hate, lovers are going to love, manipulators are going to manipulate. That's what they do. They just don't know any other way of being. So when they see opportunities to manipulate, they're going to manipulate. And when people are making plans, there's an opportunity to manipulate. So you can't be surprised when they act like themselves. That's what I say all the time. Don't be surprised when narcissists act like themselves. That's what they do. All right, number 3, they want the best for who? For themselves. Absolutely. They want the best for themselves, and they can never be satisfied for less than what they want for themselves. What's holidays about? Not them, right? Number 4, what do they love to do? Well, they love to guilt trip you. This is a great opportunity to guilt trip you into spending time with you. It's your duty. You have to spend time with me, especially as a family member or a friend or something like that. When you talk about sabotaging holidays, there's a great opportunity for that. Number 5, narcissists hate obligations. They don't want to have responsibilities to people. They want you to have all the responsibility to them. Absolutely. All about me. But when it comes to shifting that and having it back to you, oh no. They think of you as a possession. I think of it as jars on a shelf or something like that. And so they don't want to have this obligation of caring for other people. Right. And I actually have a whole video on signs of narcissistic gift giving. This is a good time of year to check out that video as well. So definitely check that out. But they don't want to have that obligation. So that's number 5. Number 6 is they just hate having that attention diverted away from them. And clearly, that's what holidays are all about. Other people giving, especially giving to the poor, charity. Oh my goodness, they really hate charity and giving to the poor, giving to others, thinking about how to take care of other people. I mean, that's what a lot of holidays are about. And they certainly don't want to have to think about that. So that's number 6. Number 7 is they ruin holidays because any attention is good attention, right? So even if it means causing drama, trauma, and chaos, that means they get attention. So that means they get supply. So that's good. Even if they're getting bad attention, they're getting attention. And no attention means that they're not significant. That's the worst possible thing. So they can sometimes be ruining holidays on purpose because they're getting bad attention. And by the way, if you've seen any of these so far, give me a for sure in the comments, or give me an example of the kinds of ways that you guys have seen narcissists ruin holidays. You know that you guys have seen it, I'm sure. So, and number 8 is that they rather ruin a holiday than ruin a regular day because it's a heightened day of attention. It's actually a great day to ruin. It's a heightened day of attention for things going on. So it's like, wow, all of this stuff is going on. So, what a perfect day to get attention for themselves. Everything is happening. People are a bustle. As I said, good attention, bad attention. But especially because it means a lot to a lot of other people, that's a great opportunity to get attention for themselves. So it means that it's more significant for others. So it would be more significant to get attention for themselves or something like that. I mean, that's why you see people who really want to mean something, who have no significance whatsoever. They'll come along and they'll attempt to assassinate a celebrity or something like that because they're so desperate to just mean something in their lives. And by doing something to a celebrity, they get attention. And so that's what you see with narcissists. They're just so desperate to have any kind of significance whatsoever because they feel so desperately empty inside. They have no inner sense of self. They are the most deeply insecure people that exist on the planet. And so when you are going to negotiate with them, that is the type of personality that you are dealing with. And that is why it is extremely different than dealing with a regular type of personality. And so you cannot think that the regular rules of negotiation are going to apply and work. Have you been trying to negotiate with a narcissist and you've already started self-sabotaging, or you're thinking you're going to? I can help you. So make sure that you watch this video. Hi, I'm Rebecca Zung. I've been recognized by US News as one of the best lawyers in America. I'm also an international best-selling author of the book Slay the Bully: How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win, and I'm going to help you today. So make sure that you get your pen and pad ready or your note-taking, because this is going to help you so much. So self-sabotage in negotiations can significantly hinder your ability to achieve that favorable outcome that you want, especially when you're dealing with narcissists. Because what do, especially during that discard phase, when things go south, right? Whether you are their former business partner, whether they've been your boss, whether it's a divorce, whether it's you just had a child with the person, whatever it is, when that relationship goes into that, what they call the discard phase, that final phase, you become public enemy number 1, and they want to take you down. They want to make sure that you look bad before they look bad. They want to make sure that it's war. Even if they say, oh, this is going to be amicable, even if they say, we're going to remain friends, don't look at the thing that's coming out of their mouth, because their actions are going to prove otherwise. And let me tell you something. If they were liars during the relationship, they are not going to be your friend now, regardless of what they are saying to you when things are starting to unravel. And your self-sabotaging behavior is not going to help things. So there are some things that you can do to make sure that you protect yourself, to make sure that you mitigate risk along the way before things get too far down the road, before you give up too much of your leverage, before you give up too much of your power. And I've represented people thousands and thousands of times in deals, in negotiations, And I've now seen it so many thousands of times since I've been doing this work internationally, globally. I have seen all different sorts of sides of this. And I really want to help you. This is crucial for effective negotiation. It's crucial for personal empowerment. And if you do this the right way, you can become the most powerful negotiator and the most powerful version of yourself in the long run. Making sure that you have subscribed to this channel. If you haven't done that, make sure you do that now, right now. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. The very first thing that you can do is make sure that you prepare. The first self-sabotaging behavior that people have is lack of preparation. If you haven't prepared correctly, then it really can sabotage you. So preparing means preparing your side of the deal and also preparing as if you are the other person, meaning that you want to do research for your sides of the argument and research for the other person's side. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are their arguments going to be? What are your arguments going to be? Really understanding what your objectives are going to be, anticipating those potential counter arguments so that you can even come out of the gate and say things like, I anticipate that you're going to be arguing X. And here's why your argument doesn't carry any weight. Here's why your argument doesn't hold water. Preparing boosts your confidence so much. And it gives you that necessary information to just negotiate effectively. The more that you can be specific in your arguments, the better you're going to be. Watch debates. If you watch political debates and you see the person who's going, oh, everything, blah, 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 and they're super general, they're not the ones that win. The ones that win are the ones who've got data, details, specific details on research, and they have every single statistic there ready to go. When you have your research ready and you've prepared, it is so much more powerful, and including theirs. No, that's not correct because blah, blah, blah. I've done the research on your side too. I highly recommend that you get my free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet at winmynegotiation.com. It's a 15-page prep worksheet. It will help you tremendously. Many, many people have gotten it, and I highly recommend that you do too. Number 2 is lack of self-worth, self-sabotage. What are you saying to yourself? I often say that the very first negotiation that we have to do is with ourselves in the morning for our own self-worth, whether it's mantras or doing something to re-pattern our neuronal patterns, knowing the value of yourself, the value of your contributions, and being sure of that will help you tremendously. Recognize and affirm your strengths, your contributions. Get your support team in place. Go to a therapist. Get a good coach. Doing programs like my high conflict negotiation certification program or my SLAY program, getting a good community behind you will help you tremendously. I have a really great Facebook community, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. Join that, totally free. Get that power behind you of people who are going to lift you, support you, and help you feel a whole lot better and assert your worth confidently in those negotiations. Number three is fear, that fear of confrontation. Your own fear holds you back. Just avoiding that assertiveness due to a fear of conflict. When you just shrink back, and go, I'm not going to do it because, and a lot of times people, they don't say, I'm afraid. They oftentimes will say other things, but it's really because they're afraid. Stepping up to the plate, right, is so hard sometimes when you're afraid of the backlash, when you're afraid of what somebody's going to do. But let me tell you, narcissists are way more afraid of you than you are of them. And that's why they make so much noise. And that's why they have all these tantrums. And that's why they act like the 2-year-old that they do, because they don't want you to come up against them. If you express your needs, if you express your boundaries clearly, and you become the person that you are meant to be, you will see that things will start to shift. You will see that there will be a change your way. Number 4 is an overeagerness to please. How I see this playing out in negotiations is people giving away their leverage too early in the game. So what happens is, especially with narcissists, is that people will say, oh, I'll give away X. I'll give them this thing that I know that they want, whether it's their 401k plan, or maybe it's a portion of a house and a divorce, or whatever it is, thinking that it's going to garner favor in the negotiations. And then that person will see how good they're being in the negotiations, and it will allow for something else down the road. What happens is it does not. That narcissistic person, that high conflict personality, just sees that as it was mine in the first place. I was entitled to it. And it does not give the result or get the result that you think it's going to get. You've now given away leverage that you shouldn't have given. And now you don't have that leverage anymore. And that person isn't even grateful for it or appreciative for it. You're now stuck without the leverage, and they're not grateful. So I just recently had a conversation with somebody who, their soon to be ex, wanted to bifurcate their divorce case because they wanted to go live in a house with their soon to be ex. So they allowed the divorce to go through, and they gave the house away to the ex. So the ex is now living in the house with the new girlfriend. So they don't have any more leverage left. So you can't have this over eagerness to please, thinking that it's going to appease the other party, thinking it's going to give you some kind of stored up grace. It doesn't. You can't concede early on thinking that it's going to help you. You've got to set clear goals, clear boundaries early on, and think about yourself and your objectives early on. And keep that leverage to yourself, because you're going to need it. All right. So that's number 4. And if you agree with me so far, put agree in the comments. Number 5, the number 5 way that you self-sabotage with narcissists in negotiations is emotional reactivity, getting emotional, being triggered. And boy, do they go after you. Boy, do they try to trigger you in these situations. So what do? They try to say things to trigger you. Oh, you're terrible with money. You never did anything. I did everything. Whatever it is that they know, that spot, you have no integrity. You're a liar. And then you allow yourself to be triggered. You allow yourself to get emotional. It leads to impulsive choices, impulsive decisions. And what happens? You write that email, you write that text, you do the thing that you shouldn't do. And now they've got something on you. They use your reaction against you. They use that reaction to say, look, there's the crazy one. And they hold it up to show everybody who the crazy person is. You have to be careful. Remember that every text, every email, everything you put your hand to is a potential exhibit. Trial exhibit is a potential something that can be shown to somebody. So you have to be really, really careful. Practice. What's your strategy? What's your strategy to overcome this? Practice overcoming your emotions. Practice being able to regulate your emotions, especially when you're with that person, right? So you can scream in the shower, cry in your pillow, cry to your friends, do whatever you need to do, get your therapy, go to your coach, have your support team around you. But when you're with that person, deep breathing, pause before you're responding. I say SOS, stop, take a breath, observe them, and then stay calm. Just stay calm and composed So important, so crucial. Number six, the sixth way that you can self sabotage during negotiations is using poor communication, whether it's vague communication, unclear communication, not communicating, doing something that's impulsive, or not following up. If there's a text, if there's an agreement of some sort, you got them to agree, just even saying, oh, we just had a conversation and this is confirming the conversation that we just had. You want to always make sure you do that too. Practice with your clear and concise communications. Be specific about what you want, be specific about why, be specific about everything. Good communication is the foundation of effective negotiations. Don't make the mistake of thinking that negotiations are just when you're sitting in a conference room and actually about ready to sign something. It's happening the whole time that you might be involved in a something going on with this person, whether it's an actual case, litigation, whatever. If you've got some kind of issue going on with that person, all of it is that negotiation. Okay. And number seven, that is ignoring your gut. Did you know that your heart is actually 5 seconds ahead of your brain? It actually does know before that your brain does. There's something called heart math. You can look it up. And there are actually techniques that you can do. There are meditations that you can do to actually get your heart in coherence with your brain and be better as far as intuition. Trust your gut, trust your feelings. If you know that something is off, it probably is. Don't go with your head. That's probably how you ended up in the relationship in the first place. I know that's how it ended up with me. I ended up in a narcissistic business partnership with somebody, and I knew that it was off even at the beginning, but I went with my head instead of my gut. And so trust your gut, trust your instincts. Don't sign something if it seems off. Don't make decisions if they seem off. Take a step back, take a breath, take a look at things. Your intuition can be a very powerful guide. Get second opinions, take a look at things, talk to people, make sure that you are making the right decisions. Because let me tell you, if you end up 3 months from now, 2 months from now, a month from now, whatever it is, and you go, you know what, I did not want to make that decision and I felt rushed, I felt like I was pushed into it, you're not going to be happy. You don't want to resent making a decision. Be very, very purposeful in whatever decision that you finally make. I always say there is a price for freedom, but make sure that whatever decision that you make is the right one for you.